Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the show that never ends. B-Man is mad. Honest about the Irish final score from Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. Notre Dame over Boston College by the final score of 45-31. I, during the week, was a little concerned that this was going to be a letdown game. Listen, I am a hardcore fan. I get criticized too much for being too negative. I've been told that I freak out too much. I'm too emotional, but you know what? That's what sports fans are, because we have a passion for something. I believe if you don't have a passion for anything in life, you are boring and you sit in front of your TV and hide all day. That's the way I see things. I have a passion for sports. I love Notre Dame football. I'm up and down. In that first quarter, I was a little down, a little nervous, and I'm also a little down on Notre Dame's secondary to give up a lot of yards again in the past against Boston College, as they did last weekend against Clemson. So I am a little concerned about their secondary, and I will get into that. Also, there's something that I want to say to my listeners, and something I want to say to all you experts out there that use your phone for Google stats. I know B-Man isn't perfect, and I know that he makes mistakes here and there, but you know what? This show isn't about stats. This show isn't about how much this guy threw for. This is basically me being a raw fan with raw emotions, being honest about my team. Now, however, I was right when I made a stat today, when I read an interesting stat, and I've been corrected before, even though I was right, which doesn't make sense, because how can you be corrected on something when you are right? And that stat is Ian Book's career record as a quarterback at Notre Dame. His career record is different from being a starting quarterback. When you come off the bench, which he did earlier in his career at Notre Dame, that constitutes on your win-loss record. Ian Book, as a starter, is now 28-3. He's improved 28-3 after today's game, which means he's improved his career record as a Notre Dame quarterback 31-3. And before today's game, Ian Book was 27-3 as a starter, and he was 30-3 as a career quarterback. Now, I was corrected by Google, an assistant to Google, I'm not going to name any names, by one of my listeners who didn't even go to the University of Notre Dame, even though he told people he went to the University of Notre Dame at his workplace. Listen, if I want to get in a female's pants, I don't ever lie about my success. I don't ever tell them I went to the University of Notre Dame, because A, I am too dumb to go to Notre Dame, and B, I think if any of you go to college, you are wasting your money, and it is stupid, because college is obesely, if that makes sense, obesely expensive, and it's not worth it. So to you listeners out there who hate me and who are mad at me because I'm calling you out, just remember this, that this show is not about statistics. This show is basically about me being emotionally raw and just telling you from the heart how I feel. It may piss off people, it may make people laugh, but it also may even make people so angry that they might unsubscribe to me, and I'm pretty sure a couple people have done that when I made comments about the feminazis in my last Star Wars video, with women in purple hair running around with lightsabers being angry and hating men and being in charge of the universe, because we don't have enough women who do that in movies. Now back to the game. The reason why I brought up that statistic about Ian Book's record at Notre Dame is because if Ian Book wins the rest of his games this year, including over North Carolina, including over Wake Forest, the two next toughest opponents, by the way, who score a lot of points, and by the way, who can pass the ball very well, which Notre Dame will need to pay attention to that key, because Notre Dame's secondary will be tested against Wake Forest and will be tested against North Carolina. If Ian Book continues to win, and they do beat Syracuse, their last home game of the year, Ian Book will become the all-time winningest quarterback at Notre Dame, win-loss record. Congratulations, Ian Book. You've done a lot this year. You've proven me wrong. Brian Kelly has proven me wrong. Notre Dame keeps on proving me wrong this year, which I like. Keep on proving me wrong. Notre Dame has grown up. They are a mature football team. You heard that a lot today from Todd Blackledge of ABC Sports. And I've seen a lot of growth from this team with their receivers, with their tight ends, and that's even Brian Kelly's coaching style. Even though I was very critical of it beginning in the season, but listen, Notre Dame's 8-0. They're undefeated. They got a few games left. They're probably going to face Clemson most likely in the ACC championship game with Trevor Lawrence, which is going to be very difficult because A, it's very difficult to beat a college football team that has the equal amount of talent as you do, and then B, plus the quarterback position for Clemson will be upgraded when Trevor Lawrence returns. So Notre Dame still has a lot to fight for. Notre Dame still has a lot to scratch for. And hopefully they can get past Wake Forest and North Carolina and be undefeated when they face Clemson in the ACC championship game. But let's dissect today's game, my emotions, how I felt. In that first quarter, well, folks, I was a little nervous. There was a couple of fumbles there. Boston College looked like they were on fire. And speaking of Boston College's quarterback, who transferred from Notre Dame to Boston College, give me a break. Listen, I don't know anything about the kid. However, Sean McDonough, Tom Blackledge of ABC Sports, the announcers today at the game, made it seem like that this quarterback came from adversity. It made it seem like he got COVID-19. It made it seem like he got hit by a truck. It made it seem like he slept with some model and got AIDS, and he overcame all that and became a great quarterback, even greater than Ian Book. That's what it seemed like, and he was going to get his revenge against Notre Dame, and he was going to be the next Tom Brady. Well, the wind fell out of the sails in the second quarter with that, and not much was said about him. So that was a little annoying that we had to hear how great of a story he came from and how he was bitter about Notre Dame. Oh, dude, get over it. You're a quarterback out of college football program who's pretty relevant. You've got 5 wins. Worry about your future and worry about your career at your college football program, and stop worrying about what Notre Dame might think and that you got to prove something. You're acting like a social justice character warrior in one of my videos that I make fun of. So, however, that was annoying, but also not really annoying, but something that really concerns me about this game was Notre Dame's secondary. It's been bothering me all year. It bothered me last weekend against Clemson, even though I didn't really talk about it. Notre Dame gave up 400 yards of passing last weekend against Clemson. Yes, I know it's Clemson, but that was their backup quarterback. I know he's talented, but still, they gave up a lot of yards today. Notre Dame secondary gave up a little less than 300 yards, 272 yards. Now, listen, I know that's not a lot. That doesn't seem like a lot, but it's just a type of passes, a type of plays that Notre Dame could definitely get beat deep by better teams with better receivers. And listen, Boston College has a decent receiving core. They have had a couple of injuries, but when they go up against North Carolina, when they go up against Wake Forest, who can score in a hurry, who can get to the end zone quickly, who can go downfield quickly, that's a little concerning to me as a fan. Listen, you all probably think I'm too negative, but that's fine. And I'm also very impressed with Notre Dame's run game. I'm also very impressed with Notre Dame's offensive line, Ian Book, as well. He's the commander. He's the captain of this team. So, like I said earlier, Ian Book has been proving me wrong all year. Congratulations, by the way, to Brian Kelly for winning his 100th win. He's been proving me wrong all year, too. I hope they keep it up because this is looking great. Notre Dame looks great. Even though today was a hard-fought win, it wasn't easy. It was a little back and forth there early in the game. Notre Dame needs to work on the fumbling. Kyron Williams pretty much sat out in the second half. I don't know what the reason was. Brian Kelly didn't really discuss that during the game or after the game when he was interviewed. I had to go somewhere and get dinner after the game, so I didn't clearly hear his full interview with the sideline reporter of ABC, by the way, who is pregnant. I don't see why that has any significance to the football game, but they were talking about how she's 8 months ahead in pregnancy. But whatever, congratulations to her, because kids are wonderful. But anyways, I want Notre Dame to win the national championship. I want them to beat Clemson twice, which is going to be very difficult. But you know what? I got to be realistic, and people think I'm too negative. But I don't know, folks. I am just really, really concerned about that secondary. 270 yards passing. It's not 400 yards. It's not 300 yards. But it's just the type of plays that they were giving up yards on, the deep balls. When the quarterback got hit from Boston College and he just threw it up in the air, the Boston College receiver caught it with luck. That's what I'm talking about. Plays like that they need to work better on. And I also was very, 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 very impressed with just the receiver core of Notre Dame, and they're getting much better. They got a lot of size. Avery Johnson is pretty much the speed of this team, so he's going to need to be key when they get into the bigger games, hopefully in the ACC championship game, and hopefully the national championship game after they win their semifinal game in the college football playoff game. So that definitely Avery Johnson will have to pick up some steam here and get some more catches, because it seems like Ian Book is getting more targets. Ian Book is getting more people to throw the ball to, which means they're growing, which means that they're getting better each and every week. But just need to clean up on the secondary. Their offense, I don't really have anything to complain about. Brian Kelly, Ian Book have a lot of weapons to play with, a lot of size. Continue to give that ball to Avery Johnson when you can, because he has that speed that they're going to need. Todd Blackledge actually made a point that Notre Dame's big tight end size is actually an advantage to some of these teams they're going to play later on through the year, including the ACC championship game, because you saw what they did last week against Clemson. The only problem is they don't have a lot of speed, and that's when they mentioned that Avery Johnson is mostly their rocket of the team, mostly not the rocket from 1988, but literally a rocket. He's their speedster of the team, so they're definitely going to need to have the ball passed to him. He's going to have to get a little bit more love from Ian Book, but I'm liking what this offense is providing every weekend. Ian Book has not had an interception, I believe, in like over 200 pass attempts, which is very impressive. That's another stat that I forgot to talk to you guys about, and I'm pretty sure the Google assistants out there are proving me wrong right now. They're checking their phone. When was the last time that Ian Book had an interception? Over 224 yards of passing attempts. B-Man is mad is wrong. So for you out there who are offended by me being wrong and you being right because you have your iPhone next to you, I apologize, but if that's the way you pick up women, then you know what? So be it. I don't really suggest that you should do it that way about lying where you went to college, because that's never fun. Because look what happened to the dude that actually had a job from Notre Dame for 1 week when he actually coached Georgia Tech 20 years ago. George O'Leary, that's what his name was. Just remember what you wish for, and just remember what you say to people. If you lie to people, what eventually is in dark will come to light. And Notre Dame did fire George O'Leary for lying in his application, lying about other things. And that's what happens when you lie. It catches up with you, folks. So that's B-Man's mad lesson of the day. Do not lie to impress women or impress anybody, therefore, because it eventually comes and bites you in the ass. You know what? I probably was miscorrected, or I was wrong about what I said about George O'Leary, but he did get let go for lying on his resume. So just remember, don't lie, tell the truth, even though men lie all the time. And also, back to the Notre Dame coverage, and back to Notre Dame's impressive, hard-fought, tight game, 45-31 win over Boston College. Notre Dame improves to 8-0. Now, Notre Dame does not play next weekend. They are off. It is their second bye week of the season. Their next game is the Friday after Thanksgiving. That is at a 2:30 Central start on ABC against North Carolina, by the way, who can score a lot of points. And today they beat Wake Forest, Notre Dame's next two opponents. In the future there, I should say, 59-53. So you got to watch out for North Carolina scoring. They can throw the ball. They can fling it up there. So Notre Dame's secondary better be alert. And Brian Kelly said that Notre Dame's team was tired. Well, you know what, Coach? You've got 13 days to prepare for this game. So hopefully you'll be ready against North Carolina. That is a real game. And one more thing before I let you guys go. And also, thank you for liking my videos and subscribing to my channels. I'd really appreciate if you just like one more video and get your friends to subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. It helps me out. Now, there's something I want to say. I mention this team all the time. I try not to mention them all the time because I don't want you to think I'm some psychopath who follows them around like a psycho ex-girlfriend. But I have a beef with ABC Sports, and that beef is, why the hell did they schedule this Notre Dame game at 2:30 when Notre Dame had beat the top-ranked team last week, Clemson, the first Notre Dame top-ranked the team they've beaten since 1993? They scheduled them for the 2:30 slot. When you have Boston College, who was currently 5-2 before this game, who's upset Notre Dame in the past, and there's a little bit of attractiveness to this game, and this game was intriguing. Instead, they put Notre Dame at the 2:30 slot. They put the wonderful, most winningest program, the University of Michigan, who's won 100 national championship and who's the greatest football program of all time, and Khaki Pants Harbaugh is also the greatest coach of all time, at 7 o'clock, the prime time game. And they were losing last time I checked, 28-0. And Kirk Herbstreit was surprised that Michigan was getting blown out the way they did at the Big House. This is the crap I'm talking about, folks. This is the crap I'm talking about. They always act surprised when Michigan is mediocre. They always act surprised when Michigan's getting beat to their brains. They always act surprised when they're not competing. Hello, Michigan's overrated. Stop giving them love. Stop thinking they're the greatest program in the world, because they're not. Because Michigan has only won 1.5 national championships in the last 50 years, and that is not a great football program by my standards. And yes, I've said this 100 times, and my jaw is getting tired of talking about it, but Notre Dame and Michigan are in the same boat. Now, Notre Dame might be able to jump this boat this year if they can beat Clemson a second time and go to the college football playoff, format and win the national championship, then Michigan will be the only team left in that boat that's not great anymore. Because like I said before, Michigan is still outside looking in the window where Clemson, Ohio State, and Georgia and Alabama are warmed by the fire, and Michigan's freezing their ass off with Notre Dame. Now, Notre Dame beating Clemson this past weekend, last Saturday, is a little bit closer to the door and almost there. Not quite. So, for them to put Michigan on at 7 o'clock prime time against Wisconsin, who has not played in 2 weeks because of COVID-19, leaves me scratching my head and tells me that they still love Michigan, even though Michigan sucks, even though Michigan's currently 1-2, and they're going to go to 1-3. It's going to be one of their worst losses at the Big House, and Khaki Pants Harbaugh is still going to be the greatest coach ever, and oh my God. Also, all the excuses they made for him. All the excuses they made for him. Blaming COVID-19, restricting their talent, restricting the way that they want to play. Blah, blah, blah. Especially Colin Cowherd. By the way, who I cannot stand. Colin Cowherd always gives Khaki Pants Harbaugh, always gives Michigan excuses. And I don't believe anything he says because he flip-flops more than a windshield wiper. He actually flip-flops more than Dr. Fauci does. Okay, so that is pretty much it. I just wanted to vent about the Michigan program, why they're on at 7 o'clock at night when Notre Dame should have been playing right now. Notre Dame should have been a night game, even though I was kind of happy it was a 2:30 game because it doesn't take up your whole night and you go to bed after the game and you're tired. But Notre Dame should have got some national attention after what they did to Clemson last weekend. I mean, it's just, they want to, oh my God, Michigan's down. Michigan's down. This is awful. I can't believe they're losing this much in the Big House. Kirk Herbstreit is annoying. Kirk Herbstreit is a yes man at ESPN. He's a yes person. And every time it's about Michigan, yes. Every time it's about Alabama, yes. Every time it's about Clemson, yes. Every time it's about Notre Dame, no. So I'm tired of the old Michigan love. Push them out. Should have had the Notre Dame game at 7 o'clock. Folks, that's pretty much it. I'm running out of steam here. Final victory over Boston College, 45-31. Notre Dame improves to 8-0. They're off for the next 13 days. And I will see you guys on Black Friday. Stay safe. And if there's any breaking news regarding the university because of COVID-19 and injuries, blah, 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 this and that, I will break it to you guys. Enjoy your Thanksgiving and go Irish. And please subscribe and like this.